All right, sorry, I can't figure out how to get.
Need help?
Well, it's Chrome. I need to find, here it is. Okay, so now I go here, this is what I want, and now how do I make Zoom smaller? And I hit escape.
There's that box right there.
This one?
Yeah. Nope, that just says full screen. I don't know on Chromebooks.
Yeah, all
Do you
right.
need me to print something for you?
It's in, all right, I'm just gonna not look at Zoom.
It's up here.
Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna look at Zoom. Okay, thanks everybody for your patience. All set?
Yep.
The Monday, March 29th, 2021 meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order at 6:03 p.m. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, when we have the roll call, please, and we do need, of course, to have the location.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Commissioner Bonsall,
I'm here in the city of Marquette and the county of Marquette.
Commissioner Davis,
Present, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Hanley,
Present, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Mayer,
City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
I'm here, City of Marquette, County of Marquette.
and Mayor Smith.
Commissioners, we do have one absence today. Do I have a motion to excuse the absence? Commissioner Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I move that we excuse Mayor Jenna Smith. She's away on personal business, I believe.
Commissioners, do I have a second? Commissioner Stonehouse.
I second the motion, Your Honor.
All those voting in favor of the motion to excuse, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. We move on to approval of the agenda. We do, I am going to remove one item off of the agenda before we go into approvals. Item number 6 is going to be taken up at a future meeting. So I'm going to strike number 6 from the agenda today. And that makes, we'll still have number 7, it'll still be number 7. Do we have a motion to move the agenda so numbered? Commissioner Davis.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Bonsall.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. So now we have two announcements. First is, let's see if I can get this on camera. You're going to be getting here it is, a sticker that has the glass recycling calendar. Everyone who pays a water bill is going to be getting this sticker, hopefully in the April water bills. But we are coming up, next week is the first full week of April, and so it will be Glass Recycling Week. We have not been doing a very good job, unfortunately, of making sure that on that week we only put out our glass. The other weeks we can mix paper and plastic, but next week is glass only. And look in your water bills for a sticker that'll helpfully remind us and go right on the bin, whatever bin you use. The other announcement also has to do with what we're going to be doing in April. Due to the changes in the coronavirus restrictions in Michigan, at the beginning with the April 12th, 2021 meeting, the commission members will be coming into the chambers to meet together. However, to keep things safe, we are going to have the public continue to participate through Zoom and watching on TV. You will continue to be able to submit email comments, which will be read, or you can call in and also speak your comments at that time. But that change is going to be coming up at the next meeting, which will be on April 12th. So we do encourage you to participate, and just make sure and continue to participate as you have been in Zoom. All right, we move on to boards and committees. We have one appointment to a committee tonight. Do I have a motion for this appointment? Commissioner Davis. You're on mute, Commissioner Davis.
I'm sorry, I thought I took myself off. I move that we appoint Dennis Hansch to the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority for an unexpired term ending July 1st, 2023.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Hanley?
I second that motion.
Any discussion? Commissioner Davis? Commissioner Hanley? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion carries 6-0. We also have tonight 4 reappointments on the agenda. Do I have a motion for the reappointments? Commissioner Hanley.
I motion that we reappoint Callie New to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a term expiring February 1st of 2024. Rob Beranek to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a term expiring February 1st, 2024. Margaret Brum to the Market Area Wastewater Treatment Advisory Board for a term expiring 12/31 of 2023. And Margaret Schramm to the Elections Board for a term expiring April 11th, 2025.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Bonsall.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion, Commissioner Hanley?
I'd just like to thank everyone for their continuing support of the city of Marquette.
Commissioner Bonsall?
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments. I personally served in the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a little under 2 years, and so that's an incredibly important board for our city. And of course, the Wastewater Treatment Advisory Board and the Elections Board are critical as well. So thank you to all 4 of those individuals for continuing to serve.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That brings us to public comment. We do have one public comment this evening.
Yeah. Okay, so we have one public comment tonight, and it is submitted ahead of time, written by Margaret Brum at 404 East Magnetic Street. And Ms. Brum writes, question for the Harbor Advisory Committee representative. The harbors in Marquette are enormously popular with locals and with tourists. What are the plans/schedule this year for opening the public restrooms? Also, are there any plans to augment the existing number of public restrooms near the harbors with portable restrooms? And that is the only thing that was written ahead of time.
Thank you, Clerk. Okay, are we ready for our presentations? All right. So our first, we have 2 presentations this evening. The first one is going to be from Julianne Pastula, General Counsel for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. We're going to bring her in to the Zoom meeting. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Marquette virtually.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. May I share my screen to do the presentation, or is that something that Sean will, or someone will facilitate?
Go ahead
Okay.
and hit share. Should
Thank
work.
you. No, it's working beautifully. Thank you. Perfect. And it's a very brief presentation. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Julianne Pastula. As indicated, I serve as General Counsel to the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. I'll refer to it as the MICRC because that's a mouthful. And I reside down in Wayne County, Michigan, just on the outskirts of Detroit. I would like to recognize and thank Mayor Smith, as well as the city commissioners, for this opportunity to present information regarding the MICRC and its work. In 2018, Michigan voters adopted a ballot initiative which shifted responsibility for redistricting from the legislature to the MICRC to engage in redistricting. The commission is comprised of 13 randomly selected Michiganders out of over 9,000 applications. 4 individuals affiliate with the Democratic Party, 4 affiliate with the Republican Party, and we have 5 commissioners that do not affiliate with either major political party. The MICRC is responsible for redistricting the state of Michigan's congressional, House, and Senate districts. To ensure free, fair, and impartial maps, the MICRC is required to solicit public input before drawing any redistricting plans for any of the districts. The MICRC has adopted a schedule with 16 public hearings that will be held throughout the state in the first round, and another second round of public hearings after the proposed maps have been drawn will be also held. 5 are required, and we're going to hold 8. Now, Marquette initially was voted to be held on May 6th, but because Northern Michigan University is your COVID vaccination center, tomorrow the commission will consider a proposal to move that date to May 18th. Let's keep going. Per the Michigan Constitution, the purpose for the public hearings are threefold. First, to inform the public about the redistricting process. Second, to share responsibilities and purposes of the commission. And third, to solicit information from the public about potential redistricting plans. The MICRC and staff welcome your ideas and those of your constituents as to increase awareness and engagement in Michigan's redistricting process. Please email us at redistricting@michigan.gov. Send mail to us at P.O. Box 30318, Lansing, Michigan 48909. Share your public comments at our weekly meetings, which occur on Thursdays, or come and speak during one of our upcoming public hearings. The schedule will be posted on the MICRC website and updated as needed. To learn more information about the MICRC, our website is www.michigan.gov/MICRC. And thank you again for this opportunity to speak to the residents of Marquette.
Thank you very much. And I will note again that the date is considering the date of the meeting for Marquette is potentially going to be moved to, was that May 18th, I heard?
Yes, that's correct. So the commission had already voted to hold it May 6th, but again, due to some scheduling concerns with the university, that date tomorrow, we have a commission meeting tomorrow, it will be considered to move May 18th. And our meeting in Gaylord that is potentially being moved again tomorrow, they should vote tomorrow, to May 20th. So that will be happening. And again, posted on our website, all the updated information.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Hanley.
Thank you for your presentation. I was wondering, is Marquette the only spot in the UP that you'll be holding a meeting?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Hanley. Yes, that is, we had discussed dates and the commission had considered also holding a meeting in Sault Ste. Marie, but with the rotation, that location, was dropped out for Marquette. We will be in Marquette for both the first and the second round. So Marquette is one of the cities that we're going to be visiting twice. And there are opportunities. Our website has a request for local presentations. You can email the redistricting@michigan.org. We'll be doing outreach in the local community and in advance of our meeting to further engage the public in advance of the public hearing and after.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, thank you very much for coming to Marquette. I don't know if you're here physically, but virtually. I think this redistricting is very important to Michigan. Just to follow up on Commissioner Hanley's question, are these meetings going to be in person or virtual?
Well, that is an excellent question. Our hope and our plan is to be in person in all of our communities. Depending on whether there's a local state of emergency or what's happening statewide. The Open Meeting Act, no reason virtual meeting, as the commission is aware, expires March 31st. So it is our hope to be in person. That being said, for the Constitution also requires us to stream all of our meeting contemporaneously. So there will be contemporaneous viewing on the internet. And we are required to hold public comment virtually. So these are requirements that are in the Constitution. So if some of your residents don't feel comfortable coming to the in-person meeting, should one be held in your community, they have that ability to participate as well. And that is independent of the Open Meetings Act or any of the virtual requirements or allotments under the Act.
Okay. I think it'll be easy for people to not be in tune to these meetings coming up. So I'm hoping they're promoted really highly. I understand that there's other ways that people are involved with the commission. I can't remember what they're called. Are they called observers, or there's designated people that kind of watch the process? Could you talk about that?
I would just need some clarity for all of the redistricting work that'll happen as far as drawing maps is required to happen in open meetings. So
no, I might be wrong. I thought that there were some observers or people that actually observe the meetings but are not actually participating in the commission, but I could be wrong.
Oh, we have quite a following already. It's very exciting. Many people remember the advocacy work leading up to the adoption of the ballot proposal. And certainly many people that were involved in that or were interested in that from a variety of perspectives, whether they were for it or against it or had no real opinion of it. They are definitely engaged in our meetings. We get quite a few that watch throughout the entire meeting. And we receive all of our public comment, becomes part of our public record and is accessible online as well.
Yeah. Okay. And I know that's a huge pool of people that the commission was chosen from. And I just want to acknowledge that there were over 50 people from Marquette County that applied for that position. And I was really happy to see that kind of involvement. I know that the results of the census are going to be delayed, and that puts kind of a time crunch on you. And I'm just wondering if you anticipate any change in our congressional delegation numbers as a result of the census, and what kind of challenges you have for the delay in the census results.
Thank you. I will just keep answering. And I appreciate all of the questions, certainly. So yes, the two parts to that answer. The congressional delegation, it is anticipated that Michigan will lose 1, potentially 2 seats. If that happens, this will be the 5th consecutive decade, so half a century that we've lost a seat every cycle, every census cycle, which is unfortunate. So that is the expectation. The apportionment data used for congressional reapportionment will be released earlier than the redistricting data that is used for the state legislative districts. So I think we'll have, Commissioner Davis, a more clear answer on the congressional seat status or the amount of congressional seats that we will have available to us prior to that. Now, the census data is supposed to be delivered to the states, to all of the states by March 31st. The 2010 redistricting cycle, the legislative commission in charge of doing redistricting received that data March 11th, just to put it in context for everyone. The Census Bureau indicated it would be released July 30th, and now we're at September 30th for a release date of redistricting data. Under the current constitutional deadline of voting to adopt final maps November 1st, we have a 45-day public comment period, which is when you'll be seeing us conducting our second round of public hearings. That date, the 45-day public comment date, would begin on September 17th. So this is not a possible thing to do. So the commission authorized me as their general counsel to seek relief, bless you, seek relief from the Supreme Court for those dates and to get some accommodation to extend our deadline for the constitutional deadline just for this redistricting cycle. And hopefully that the Supreme Court will look favorably upon that request.
Thank you.
Commissioner Counsel.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Julianne, for being here. I just wanted to support what Commissioner Davis just said about, how important it's going to be to make sure that these meetings are well publicized. I think that having the bipartisan, Citizens Redistricting Commission is great. I think it makes the whole world of sense to have citizens picking or drawing the district lines instead of having politicians choosing their voters. But of course, the Upper Peninsula and really everywhere north of Traverse City doesn't have direct representation on the commission. So I think it'll be incredibly important to get plenty of public feedback during those sessions. That'll be really important to make sure that our interests are adequately represented and that the commission fully understands some of the unique characteristics of the Upper Peninsula. So I just want to re-emphasize that point. The only other question I had is can you briefly, I know there's been some discussion about this term communities of interest and how that will play into the commission's decisions about redistricting. Can you just explain that a little bit? Because for example, like in Marquette County, the whole county is in the same state house district right now, except for 2 random townships that are rolled into the next district. And it doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense. Can you explain how things might change under these new rules?
Definitely. And I'm so glad that you mentioned too, the unique characteristics of your communities in the Upper Peninsula and in Northern Michigan more broadly. So the communities of interest will definitely factor into that. And that's one thing that the commission is very excited to hear from Michiganders and residents about. That's our 3rd criteria. So the Constitution sets forth ranked criteria, the first being Equal Population Voting Rights Act. The second is geographically contiguous. And the 3rd are community of interest. So while communities of interest is not defined in the Constitution, the commission is very, very keen on getting input from communities of interest. And I'm going to pull out the definition of what communities of interest are not, because that definitely helps us in the discussion. So districts shall reflect the state's diverse population in communities of interest. Communities of interest may include, but shall not be limited to, populations that share cultural, historical characteristics or economic interests. Communities of interest do not include relationships with political parties, incumbents, or political candidates. So the commission is looking at communities of interest on how they can be incorporated into the map redistricting process. So we'll have a public comment tool coming online very shortly, where residents will be able to go onto the commission's website and draw their community of interest and advocate for their community of interest and outline what the characteristics are of the community and what and give really the commission the information it needs to be able to be cognizant and respectful of, as you said, the unique characteristics. So examples of community of interest include ethnic, racial, or economic groups, or groups of people in a geographic area, such as specific regions or neighborhoods who have common political, social, or economic interests. And I know I don't have an answer why your 2 that all of them were, but 2 were rolled into your district in your House district, I believe you said it was. But certainly hearing from residents and being able to see how they self-identify is very important. Again, it's not up to the commission to identify communities of interest. We're opening the floor to hear from residents and communities on their special characteristics and how they should be preserved. So I hope that was responsive. Communities of interest is we have many states that require the consideration of them, but none really have a full definition, and Michigan is one of them. And I'm happy for it because it's driven by local circumstance and an examination of shared interests. So I think that the residents should drive it, and I'm excited to hear the feedback. You asked for a brief answer. I feel that was not brief, so I apologize.
No, I mean, it's very complicated, and I do really appreciate you providing that level of detail.
And again, if I could remind the residents too, is when we say use the public comment tool, or even mail us a map, submit it by email, interface with the districting software that we're going to have public facing, to not feel compelled to create a whole district or a whole Senate district or a whole congressional district or divide up the whole state. Certainly if your residents are interested in that and feel moved to do that, we would welcome that feedback. But really it could be just drawing your community of interest and submitting that. You don't have to draw a full district or a full map of Michigan. So I just always try to remind people of that really you can provide us with as much as you like, or again, just self-identify your community.
Not seeing any other questions or comments. Thank you very much. That was very informative. I know I really appreciate your taking the time to join us here this evening and get this very important conversation started. And we look forward to when you do come to Marquette. I hope you will be able to get up here. And that you have this process to really engage with everyone in Michigan is quite ambitious, and we really appreciate your taking it on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pro Tem. I appreciate everybody's time and accommodation.
All right, we're going to move now to our second presentation of the evening, which is the annual presentation from the Harbor Advisory Committee. And our presenter tonight is the chair of the Harbor Advisory Committee, Kane Beauchamp.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful.
Sean is working, or do you have a presentation to share on the screen? I think.
It should have been shared, I hope.
Oh, I can.
Okay, all right. All right.
Just need a minute.
Okay, he's setting that up while there we go. All right, well, we're letting the computers figure out where things are located. I did notice you have I think there's 2 vacancies on the Harbor Advisory Committee. Is that right? I think I saw that.
I believe 3.
What would you be looking for someone who might join the committee? What would they be doing, or what characteristics are you looking for?
Whatever the requirements, or I think the city resident, I believe, is what the requirement is. Beyond that, living and breathing.
All right. And
Honestly, the thing, and part of the presentation kind of touched on this, but I guess since you brought it up, I'll mention it now, is that, we are kind of, I guess, reevaluating how we recruit or at least get word out about vacancies. The vacancy issue isn't unique to Harbor Advisory Committee, and I think some of the committees may do a better job of getting members than maybe we do. So it'd be, I guess, wise of us to try to figure out what works for them and see if we can apply it if we aren't already. And that's, but I think the lack of volunteers is not unique to the city of Marquette, more or less Harbor Advisory Committee, or even, I would guess any other city or municipality in the United States for that matter.
Yeah, and then of course COVID makes everything that much more challenging. But I do think we have everything all set up now, ready to go for the presentation. So thank you. Thanks for your patience, everybody.
Tell me when you want next slide.
This is basically just the cover page. You can skip down to hopefully you'll see the vacancy committee list there. I guess you can even go further, just right down to the priorities or purpose. Sorry, there you go. As you can see, the actual Harbor Advisory Committee was created back in 1954, and it's kind of, it ceased to exist for a period of time and then was brought back. So I believe 2014 was when the new mission was provided, which you'll see there. The Harbor Advisory Committee advises the City Commission. I'm not going to read that. I believe most of you or all of you can probably read that on your own. And then, our meetings are, they're held at 5:15, usually at Lakeview Arena. And the reality is one of the nice parts about Harbor Advisory, which is different in regards to some of the other committees, is our area is a relatively closed, smaller group or set of information. That information doesn't take us hours to go through. We can get it organized to a degree where 45 minutes, an hour, and it's our meeting start to meeting end. And that's why I always tell people, these committees aren't large time commitments. It's a little bit, and it's consistent, but it is something that, we do a very good job of getting through our meetings relatively efficiently. And I didn't know how you folks do questions, if you do one big round at the end, or do we just do them as we go?
At the end, generally.
Okay. So we'll just move on to the next slide there. And so because of COVID, our accomplishments were really in the works before. We had everything set up in the spring for the boating season, for a lot of the projects that were ongoing, but we just couldn't hold our meetings, obviously. So it was nice to see a lot of what we had set forth in the winter and the spring kind of play out on its own. And so, one of the, as you'll see there, two of the projects that were big for us were, a seasonal marina rate structure, even things like, Presque Marina, getting that closer to completion. The Founders Landing Pier, as you are well aware of. And really, I think to a degree, a lot of those accomplishments were set up by a lot of the hard work from previous chairs. I believe many of you probably remember Lynn, and she did a great job of making sure that, even though we couldn't hold meetings, that we had a lot of the legwork and a lot of the hard work done before we got to that point. Go ahead to the next slide. So the goals for the upcoming year is a lot of it is in regards to that harbor master plan, because there is a opportunity, or I guess an interest in utilizing the waterfront in different business entities or business operations. So it'll be interesting to see, things like, if a kayak rental, wants to set up shop, or canoe rental, or, anything of that nature, to try to kind of figure out different unique ways that we can increase access to that waterfront for residents and tourists alike. Obviously the residents live here, so they will have, any day access that they can choose to, but it definitely does help if, there's other things for folks to do when they come here as well. And then you can see some of the other things that we do is a lot of it's just an advice kind of role, where, it's motorized, non-motorized watercraft, again, kayaks, jet skis, things like that, and which includes the city marinas. The Founders Landing Pier, obviously another big project, and then, any kind of ORDOC redevelopment or project there too. So, and then I believe we got one more slide, maybe two. Oh yeah. Issues and discussion. So this goes back right into that harbor master plan of future waterfront access and use. Some of the community recreational use, once again, motorized and non-motorized. One of the other things that I do want to mention is we do, I guess, strive for full access, including disabled, able people and differently abled people to be able to access the waterfront in different and unique ways. One of the things that, at least from a standpoint that I view the advice side of Harbor Advisory is finding unique solutions to challenges with access. So whether it be a wheelchair kayak launch, or any kind of way that we can improve everyone's access, we're always looking for unique solutions to problems that way. And that's also goes into that committee recruitment. We want to be able to get a wide range of differing opinions, and because that's how we best come to solutions that are most agreeable by everybody. I think there's one more slide, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah, the question slide, of course.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll go out to commissioners. Do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Stonehouse?
At least this time I unmuted. Thank you very much for the presentation. Commissioners, I think as we went through the slides, prior to the actual showing of the slides, as part of our prep up, part of the things that, one of the items rather that I think was apparent was that the Harbor Master Plan was done in 2003. And I think for those years in this interval, it stood up very well. Nonetheless, it certainly needs to be looked at, updated, and I think brought into better focus today. And I also realized that I was the chairman of the group that put that together back in 2003. So certainly some vested interest in it. But I do think that as a commission, we need to look at having the plan brought up to date, reevaluated, relooked at. I think the Harbor Committee, obviously, Advisory Committee plays a huge role in that. And as I recall, the last time we did it, they were the prime player in getting it done. So as we consider that as a possible job coming up, I think it's really important that we keep the Harbor Committee in mind, and that we give them an early tasker to be involved in that process. Other than that, Mr. Kane, thank you for the presentation. You do have to find some members. Harbor Committee does terrific work, and you just need some more horses to help pull the wagon. So thank you for coming tonight.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Bonsall?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I would agree with Commissioner Stonehouse that, certainly, we've got a good harbor plan, but it's nearly 2 decades old at this point. So updating it would make a lot of sense, potentially in conjunction with or immediately after we go through the process of updating our community master plan, because perhaps that can inform the harbor master plan process as well. But I guess I just had a somewhat specific question. You know, in one of your slides, you mentioned, you know, commercial watercraft as being sort of a topic of discussion moving forward. I'm curious if you got any, you know, further kind of information about that in general, you know, what you're discussing as a committee. And then specifically, and maybe this is more of a question for staff, I was curious how we handle fishing charters with the marinas and how the details of how that works. I did get a question from a constituent about that recently, and frankly, wasn't quite sure.
Sure. I'll go with the second part first, which is I believe there's a different rate structure for commercial uses. I believe there's also a permitting or a licensing process that goes along with that. I would definitely double check with staff on that. First part of the question in regards to the commercial, some of the commercial entities that were interested were like tour boats. A lot of them were in regard to like tour boats or other sort of on the water kind of revenue. So one instance is years ago, there was a creation of a Great Lakes charter boat of some sort where you could take a Great Lakes cruise. They had approached the city at one point about, I believe, using the maybe docking, I believe, at some point in time. And anyway, ended up choosing not to. And I believe the whole kind of Great Lakes cruise thing didn't really materialize like they had hoped due to some international immigrations issues, where if you were a Canadian flag vessel and you made a stop in Canada and then you stopped in the United States, you would have to then declare customs and all sorts of mess. So there is a little bit of that as well when you talk about commercial vessel. And then I wanted to say there was even some local interest in regards to smaller, like sunset cruises, stuff like that, which would be under the header of probably some sort of chartered boat, much like your charter fishermen, which they're licensed through, I believe, state. And then my guess would be through the city as well as a vendor. I hope that answers at least part of it.
I can jump in there too. Just from a staff perspective, you know, the question came up about commercial use in the marina, say a fishing charter or another business running out of the marina. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. That is a sort of a requirement from the DNR Waterways as a condition of it being grant funded marina. So the double fee, so commercial is double fee, basically is a condition that they require. And we also have to submit an application to them to allow that. It's a process that basically ensures that the public has adequate access to the Great Lakes. And it makes a lot of sense. In other communities, there's a lot of pressure from the commercial side that makes it very difficult or there was anyway at the time that rule was enacted, made it very difficult to get a slip for your average person. So in some communities, there is a process by which we could lobby the Waterways not for this year, but outside of this year, if we felt a different rate structure might work better for us. They have kind of loosened that up a little bit, but it's pretty set for this year, the way that is. But in the future, if we felt we could benefit from changing that to some degree, maybe getting a few more slips filled, that might be something that the Harbor Advisory Committee could look at and recommend to the City Commission.
Okay, thank you both. Yeah, thanks, Kane. Thanks, John. That helps answer some of my questions. And John, I'll probably reach out to you and the city manager about this question that I received from a constituent as well. But thanks for that.
Commissioner Davis?
Yes, thank you, Kane, for your presentation. I I recognize it's not real easy to report on progress when you have only met a few times during a COVID year. But it sounds like you were doing some work in the background if you had some involvement with the Pier project, and I appreciate that. I was not aware, because when we recently looked at it, or it came before us, I didn't recognize that the Harbor Advisory Committee had some recommendations for us. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm curious as to how many meetings you were able to have this year.
Oh. Well, we would have had, you mean this year as in like the
As
2020?
this COVID year, March to March.
Oh, March to March.
Yeah.
I honestly wouldn't know. I know that we had issues because we don't have an actual access to a city Zoom, so we are limited to 45 minutes. So we have, well, that changed more recently. Michael's been great in regards to being flexible and trying to get meetings within that sort of 45-minute window. I really wouldn't have an answer for you there, to be honest with you.
That's okay. I'm really pleased that you are going to be looking at the policies that your committee would be involved in, and also looking at the Harbor Master Plan. And just as a follow-up to Commissioner Stonehouse, since he was chair of the committee during 2003 when that document was written, I was a secretary of that committee in 2013 when we did a total review of that plan and updated it. And as I connected with the city manager today, he assured me that even though it didn't get into a formal document, it is included in all of the master plans. So, hopefully we'll see a completed project after your next year or as your report, and I look forward to seeing that. Later on in our agenda, we're considering a grant for the Presque Marina. And I'm wondering how your committee has been able to have input into this grant and into this project during this COVID year as they've prepared it.
I'm hoping that grant is a continuation of a already approved project. I believe that grant is to remove the Pier 3 that was left behind when the demolition took place. I would have to defer to staff for that.
Okay. The committee serves in an advisory capacity to the commission, and it's an important committee to me, and I think to all of the other commissioners, because those of you who serve on the committee have a specialized interest in what's happening in the waterfront. I have a feeling that traditionally this committee has dealt with the marinas, and as you put up the mission statement, it's much broader than that. I can't imagine any member of our community not being interested in serving on a committee that looks at waterfront development and the whole harbor, and with all the waterfront that we have. So I want to make sure that the communication stream from the committee to the commission is working. So I guess I have a request that as you consider issues and make decisions, please formalize them and put them into a vote. And then I would ask the city staff to make sure that when we have backgrounds on votes, that we are informed of what your committee is recommending. Because you are you're an advisory to the commission. So I just want to make sure that that process happens. And then for my part, when I see it's not there, I will try to remember to ask for it. So just be a little cognizant, both you and the city commission or the city staff and us commissioners, to make sure that the communication stream is working for us all. Thank you.
Commissioner Mayor?
I just want to voice support for Commissioner Davis's recommendation as well.
All right, and it looks like we have no other comments at this time. So yeah, but I will also echo the, personally, I do think that the Harbor Advisory Committee is a very important one, and I will I will try to help recruit folks that I know. I know a couple people who have boats in the marina slips, but also, as was pointed out, we all have an interest in what happens on the waterfront. So maybe we can help recruit and advertise for you, because you are doing really important work, and you are making some decisions that, recommendations to us that will help us guide going forward how we move. I do remember back when we were in the development process for the Pier redevelopment, for example, I know you were at the work sessions. There was representation at the work sessions, and so there's been some communication as that project was very much under development at the beginning, and then we moved into permitting and implementation. But so that process just, there was definitely input there, but that was the beginning of my term 2 years ago, probably. So maybe it's time to make sure that comes up again as we go through our work sessions in the strategic planning that's to come this fall, to be concrete about how we move forward with the idea put forward by Commissioner Davis. All right, I think, I'm sorry, Commissioner Stonehouse. Yep, sorry.
Thank you, Pro Tem. I just wanted to clarify something that I think is germane to our discussion. The Great Lakes this year, of course, has no cruise operations whatsoever on the waterways anywhere. And that's a couple of issues. Issue one is the CDC. Second issue is really Canada has closed down all cruising period for the year until next spring. That means no vessel that's non-Canadian can go in Canadian waters. So any of the ships coming in from salt water, and all of them would be, cannot go up the St. Lawrence Seaway. They cannot go through the Panama Canal. They can't get to the lakes. And that is a hard and fast that's been appealed by the cruise companies several times, and each time been shot down. But next year, on the assumption that all of this is back semi-normal and those restrictions have been lifted, there will be at least 3 different companies on Lake Superior. One of them will be Viking, and Viking will be on the Big Lake. And the other one will be Ponant, which is one of the premier cruising companies in the world. And the second will be Victory. The third will be Victory. And Victory and Ponant have looked at Marquette as a potential stop next year. Viking has not yet, at least we're not quite on their radar screen yet. I just work with the companies. So we could see a real flowering of this next year, and it would be very interesting. And certainly, I think some of the thoughts of the Harbor Committee in terms of how they looked at things would certainly be validated. So thank you for that opportunity to speak, Pro Tem.
Thank you. Yeah, that's. Thank you for that update. That's as we are. Yeah, these new opportunities that are going to come post-COVID are very important for us to understand. Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Beauchamp, for speaking to us today, taking the time on the committee, and we appreciate. We'll look forward to hearing more from you coming up later this year. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
All right. So next up, we have our consent agenda. Commissioners, do I have a motion on the consent agenda? Commissioner Stonehouse.
Your Honor, I motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second? Commissioner Bonsall?
I'll second that motion.
Discussion, Commissioner Stonehouse.
No comments, Your Honor.
And Commissioner Bonsall?
None for me either.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any nays? Motion carries 6-0. Now we come to, we have no unfinished business tonight, and that moves us to our new business directly, which is going to be this grant for the Presque Marina. Clerk, could you please read the background?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. In 2019, the City Commission adopted the city's 5-year recreation master plan. The plan outlines the needs of Presque Marina, as well as the fiscal policy adopted by the Commission in 2016 that governs the rate increases needed to pay for the facilities. In 2017, the City Commission authorized the submission of a Michigan Department of Natural Resources Waterways grant program application for the removal and replacement of the middle pier of the Marina. In July of 2019, the Commission awarded that contract to Kokosing Industrial in the amount of $1,401,607 for construction. That portion of the project did not address removal of the northernmost pier or the replacement of the parking lot. Additionally, the new pier was designed to be frozen in place, reducing the potential for ice damage and the need for bubblers, but requires a utility decoupling system to be added to accomplish this. This addition should reduce ice damage repair costs as well as winter electricity use at the facility. Staff has completed a Waterways grant program application for the removal of the remaining pier and the replacement of the parking lot, as well as an installation of the utilities decoupling system. The total estimated cost for the project is $524,200. If successful, the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Waterways grant would fund 50% of the project costs, or $262,100. The deadline for submission of the grant application is April 1st, 2021. If successful, the grant dollars will be appropriated in October of 2021, with project anticipated to commence in the fall of 2021. Fiscal effect: Marina fiscal policy has established a fee schedule to fund both principal and interest payments for Presque Marina Phase 3. Recommendation: approve submitting a Michigan Department of Natural Resources Parks and Recreation Division Waterways Grant Program application for Presque Marina Phase 3. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Davis.
Yes, maybe I need a little help from you. I was considering moving to suspend the rules for discussion, but I think I really would appreciate a little more discussion about this project from the city staff. And if that requires a motion for suspending the rules, I'd be happy to do that. But I feel that we don't have a lot of information on this. We just have the cover sheet of the grant, and just a little more explanation would be helpful to we commissioners and the public.
Discuss that under a motion.
Okay, we can have a discussion under the motion, I'm told.
Okay,
So,
well then I would move that we approve submitting a Michigan Department of Natural Resources Parks and Recreation Division Waterways Grant Program application for Presque Marina Phase 3.
do I have a second? Commissioner Mayer? Oh, you're muted. Or we didn't quite hear you there, but I believe you seconded.
Yeah, sorry, I second the motion.
Thank you. Why don't we go ahead and are there particular questions you want to raise, Commissioner Davis, or do you want to go ahead? I believe.
Well, I noticed that in the cover sheet, it talked about a narrative, and perhaps the city staff could just go into more detail about what's the 3 things that are going to happen under this grant, where the costs are. I'm curious about the number of slips. I know we used to have 95, and how many slips we will have. Are these working slips that we're going to be taking away? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, so thanks for the opportunity to explain even further. This grant would basically finish the project. So the biggest portion of this would be the over the water portion to remove the last remaining concrete bin wall pier that is at the marina. So that'd be the largest portion. There would be no additional slips, so it would be just the slips that are existing on the new floating pier. There are no slips that we sell on the bin wall slip or bin wall pier that would be removed. That's been decommissioned for safety reasons. So this would really be to finish the project, to clean up what is out in the water, to resurface the parking lot, and then to make the new pier a little bit more efficient. We've realized some growing pains as we've put it in. We've had a little bit of damage each year. We had the opportunity, based on the way that the pier was built, to decouple it and ice it in. So flotation dockage built it with extra strong stringers on the side. It's made to be frozen in place, but because of the connection to the land and the utilities that run through that, we have to bubble it currently, which uses a lot of power. So we've been working with them and with Coleman on the cost estimates of it, and in the interest of the taxpayers and the ratepayers, a Waterways grant is the easiest way to subsidize those funds in order to reduce that down from 500,000 to 260,000. So that's basically the scope of it. Nothing further added. I would also add there are some new commissioners since, well, quite a few of you are new. The 2016 rate policy that was referenced basically alluded to, and I can read what the commission voted on based on the Harbor Advisory Committee's advisement. Harbor Advisory Committee recommended the City Commission move forward with a 2 marina replacement plan, Generation 2, including a comprehensive 15% seasonal rate increase in 2018 and 5% increase annually through the build out of Cinder Pond Marina in 2024. And a single pier at Presque Marina with a minimum of 32 slips with consideration of an additional pier system at such time there is a $350,000 replacement fund and 50 boats on the waiting list between both marinas. So that is what the commission voted on in 2016. At this time, we're not there. We're not at a position where we would want to recommend adding any slips. We still have some to fill at the marina, so we're working toward that end. Okay. So that's the fiscal policy that was referenced in the guides.
Okay, that's helpful. I was kind of under the impression that we were taking away slips. And nope. So we have 32 up there now. And what kind of a waiting list do we have?
There is, it varies. There's not much on the waiting list for Presque currently. I'd have to look. The biggest, that portion of the policy references both marinas. And right now, I'd say that the biggest waiting list, the longest waiting list is those 30-foot slips at Cinder Pond. So some of them have opted to go up to the new marina, and some are waiting. So right now, it changes month to month based on who gets on there. But I'd guess there's 13 boats on the waiting list, and some of that is dictated by size. So I'd have to take a look to gather more information, and I can get that to you through the city manager tomorrow. So the other thing that I would say as well, Harbor Advisory Committee hasn't had quorum the last couple of meetings, and so this grant application was on their agenda, but they weren't able to meet. There's a couple of folks on the committee existing that the virtual thing is just really difficult for. So that's been a struggle when we do have business, but we regularly seek their input on these. And if we were able to have that meeting, there'd be a recommendation in the write-up for that.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, John. I find it interesting that we've dropped from 95 slips down to 32 and over the years, and it's been a lot of years that that's happened. But yeah, thank you. That helps me to understand a little better about what we're doing here.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? I wondered, John, maybe you could speak to, with the ice out so early, are we going to be able to start sooner on any of this work? And maybe comment on the bathroom situation as well?
Yeah, so this work would actually happen in the next year, so you'll see these dollars in the budget that you're going to be looking at this summer. As far as the bathrooms go, we are early for the launches. Typically, we have ice at this time. At the lower harbor at Cinder Pond, there is a portable restroom across the parking lot. Staff is evaluating whether or not we can open the public restroom in the new marina building there. We have had issues with it during extreme cold, so we're kind of looking at the forecast to see if that'd be possible, but there is one in that parking lot. At the upper harbor, it's historical that we don't open that restroom until the weather allows, and we have had several years where the boaters are launching and they just know that it's not available until the weather turns. So
thank you. So, so if we have no more comments or questions, we'll then take a vote on the motion in front of us. All those in favor of approving the motion to approve this grant, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, John, for keeping us updated on this work.
Thank you all.
All right. Now it's time for our second public comment session, which we have no one available, no one has expressed interest in public comment at this time. So we'll move on to comments from the commission. I am going to start with the list that was in front of me, where we were, and so actually Commissioner Mayer is first on the list tonight.
I have no comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Yes, Pro Tem, thank you. Commissioner Mayer, good to see you back again in the real world. Even though you're on a little TV screen, we know you're here. Thank you. Commented earlier, the hack does great work, but we got to get them some more horses. Fill that committee out so they can be as productive as they can. Otherwise, an observation today that Carl Honak would find useful, I think. Driving past the lower harbor, I noticed that a seiche was in or out, and that we had lost about 1.5 feet to 2 feet of water, because you could see all of the posts from the association dock and the fish dock all of a sudden about 2 feet of the water, 2 feet out of the water, where previously they were underwater. So it's good to see a little meteorological phenomenon like that. A comment was made about finding city access on Zoom for the committee's meeting. I think we need to figure out a way to do that. We shouldn't be limiting them to 45 minutes on a free ride, try a Zoom package, and that's what they've been doing. So we have to figure out a way that any of our city committees, if they're forced to meet virtually, will be able to do so in a professional manner, not artificially limited by 45 minutes. And I think someone caught it. I think it was Commissioner Davis, but I thank you for recognizing that we need to break them away from the Marina mold, because that's only a very small portion of what they should be doing. So we've got to make sure their horizons open up wider than they currently are. But thank you, Pro Tem, for the opportunity.
Next is Commissioner Bonsall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I also want to welcome Commissioner Mayer back. Thank you so much for your service in Washington the last couple months, and it's great to have you back in Marquette. I would just say that I think there was a Protect Michigan Commission meeting last Friday. I've been participating in rural and youth work group meetings for that commission, and COVID-19 vaccination seems to be moving along pretty well. The UP and Marquette remain ahead of the rest of the state in terms of vaccination. I think statewide we're at about 15 to 16% of the general population is fully vaccinated, versus about 22% in Marquette and the range of 25% in the UP as a whole. And of that, in the UP, we've got about 60% of our seniors age 65 and up who have been vaccinated. So I think we're making a lot of great progress, and hopefully in the coming months, we'll continue to do that. And I would encourage anybody to get vaccinated as soon as you possibly can when that opportunity arises. So other than that, I would just thank my colleagues for a good, productive meeting. And I agree that the Harbor, it would be great to see the Harbor Advisory Committee fill out their ranks, and not necessarily just with folks who own boats and are involved in the boating community, but I think, as was noted, the entire community has a vested interest in the operation of our harbor and our waterfront. And, truly their mission is much broader than just managing our two marinas. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Davis.
Not to continually focus on this issue, but there's a certain number of people that tune into these meetings, whether you are here this evening live or when you check us out later on the YouTube. But those of you who do listen to these meetings are the ones that are the most interested in the happenings of the city. And I would strongly encourage you to consider serving on one of the city committee, and encourage your friends and acquaintances to also do that, because there's a lot of work to be done and the commission does need the input from, it's a wide variety of the community members that filter the recommendations and the input up to the commission. So please do consider that. Our Public Arts Commission is looking for feedback on the proposed designs for the basketball court at Hurley Park. There is a link on Facebook that you can use to view the designs and to voice your opinion. And I understand there's a variety of opinions on those designs. So please give us your vote and search Facebook for Queen City Courts. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanley.
I don't have a lot to say. I guess I'll echo what the other commissioners have said and welcome Cody back from his deployment. It was a very good story that I saw about you in the Mining Journal as well. And I wanted to point that out. I really enjoyed reading that. Other than that, I want to encourage everyone to participate in the Easter egg hunt that we have going on around Marquette City right now. I am going to take Ollie out. He has no idea what the clues are, but it's a good way to get out in the city and get around and see stuff in a safe and healthy way right now. So have a great day.
Thank you. And I will just repeat again, next week is glass recycling. And yes, please get your vaccination. I got my first one on the 20th at NMU. Go ahead and register. And I got called a few days early because it was available. So get your name on those vaccination lists. And we will now turn to comments from the city manager. There we go.
All right, briefly, to just follow up on the question regarding the bathrooms, we do have 3 year-round bathrooms that are open in addition to what John talked about. Cardi's Cove, Founder's Landing, and Presque Pavilion. So those restrooms are open all year. And with regard to the Zoom meetings for the Presque Isle or the Harbor Committee, they are sometimes limited to the 45 minutes because of the use of our other accounts at the same time for other meetings, but we do everything we can to make sure that our meetings don't conflict. We have 2 accounts available to us, and we try to make sure that they're utilized efficiently, and the meetings will not be limited to 45 minutes under those conditions. So that's all. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will adjourn at 7:15. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you back here in the chambers with the commission members on April 12th. And folks, please do